One chateau outside Paris sold for $301 million, and its owner has reportedly set foot inside only once. Across Europe, a rotating cast of billionaires, oligarchs, and royals have quietly bought castles, chateaux, and fortified manors worth more than some small nation's entire treasuries, then left them almost completely empty. Sanctions records, court filings, and property registries have slowly dragged these hidden purchases into public view, revealing names attached to addresses nobody expected. These are 13 European castles that billionaires secretly bought, and for the most part, never live in. Chateau Le Civ. This chateau outside Paris was built between 2008 and 2011 by Saudi businessman Emad Khashoggi, designed to recreate the grandeur of Versailles down to a gold-leafed fountain and an underwater glass viewing chamber built into its moat. Sweeping marble staircases, a private nightclub, and a cinema filled a 5,000-square-meter interior, all wrapped in stone carved to imitate 3 centuries of French royal architecture. In 2015, it sold for $301 million to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, setting a world record for the most expensive home ever purchased, and later reporting confirmed he had stayed there only once during a Paris visit. It remains the most expensive private residence on record, sitting empty behind its gates for almost the entire year. Chateau de la Croe. This 1927 Riviera chateau on Cap d'Antibes was built for a wealthy industrialist and later became a favorite retreat of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, who hosted Winston Churchill within its walls. Shipping magnates Aristotle Onassis and Stavros Niarchos each owned it in turn, and its rooftop pool and cinema were added during a later multi-million euro restoration. Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich bought the estate in 2001, rarely used it, and watched French authorities seize it in 2022 under sanctions tied to the war in Ukraine. A house built for kings became a case study in how quickly a hidden fortune can be frozen in place. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel so you never miss one of these hidden estates. Via Certosa. This sprawling Sardinian compound was assembled starting in the late 1980s by Italian media tycoon and Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, who filled its 68 rooms with an amphitheater, an artificial volcano, and a private nightclub. Its terraced gardens, multiple swimming pools, and underground bunker made it one of the most secretive estates on the Costa Smeralda coastline. World leaders including George W. Bush, Tony Blair, and Vladimir Putin visited over the years, and after Berlusconi's death, the estate sold to Qatar's ruling Al Thani family for a reported $350 million. A villa built for political theater is now a quiet, rarely visited trophy for its new royal owners. Chateau du Marais. This 18th century chateau southwest of Paris earned the nickname Little Versailles for its formal gardens, ornamental lake, and neoclassical stone facade built for a French aristocratic family generations ago. Its interiors preserve gilded ceilings and hand-painted panels that survived more than 2 centuries largely untouched by modern renovation. Czech energy billionaire Daniel Kretinsky and partner Jiří Smečky bought the estate in 2022 for $43 million, planning to convert part of it into a private hotel rather than a family home. A chateau built for old French nobility is now a real estate project waiting for its first paying guest. Sutton Place. This Tudor manor in Surrey was built in 1525 and later became the longtime home of oil billionaire J. Paul Getty, who spent his final 17 years fortifying it against kidnappers with electric fences and guard dogs. The Grade 1 listed house sits on 700 acres of formal gardens, blending Renaissance brickwork with later modern art installations. Russian metals billionaire Alisher Usmanov acquired the estate afterward, and in 2022, it was frozen under British sanctions tied to his links to the Kremlin, leaving the property in legal limbo. A house once defended against kidnappers is now defended by lawyers instead. Communities who follow this channel closely are usually the first to see the next hidden estate investigation before anyone else. Balnagown Castle. This Scottish Highland castle in Ross-shire dates back centuries and was a near ruin when Egyptian businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed bought it by chance in 1972 after passing through the area. He spent decades restoring its turrets and pink sandstone walls, filling the 30,000-acre estate with deer, cattle, and tenant farms. Al-Fayed made it his Highland retreat for more than 50 years, visiting only a few weeks each year, while the castle stood empty the rest of the time. Following his death in 2023, his family has continued the restoration work he started more than half a century earlier. Aberuchill Castle. This 17th-century tower house near Comrie in Perthshire was built by the Campbell family and later expanded across its 3,000-acre estate of moorland and forest. Its harled stone walls and conical turrets sit above the River Ruchill, framed by some of the most protected farmland in the Scottish countryside. Russian steel magnate Vladimir Leeson bought the estate in 2005 for $6.8 million, and the property has since drawn scrutiny for the large sums in European Union agricultural subsidies it collected over the years. A castle built for Highland clan defense now sits mostly unused behind a foreign owner's private gates. Dunbeath Castle. This Caithness stronghold traces its stone walls back to the 15th century, perched above the North Sea coastline with a 28,000-acre estate of moorland, farmland, and Salmon River frontage. Its harled towers and walled gardens were passed down through Scottish landed families for generations before reaching the open market. American pipeline billionaire Kelsey Warren bought the castle and estate in 2024 for $25 million through an anonymous holding company, and his identity as the buyer only emerged after local reporters traced land registry filings. A 15th-century fortress now sits behind a 21st-century paper trail designed to keep its true owner hidden. Castletown Cox. This Palladian mansion in County Kilkenny was completed in the 1760s for an Anglican bishop. Its stone facade and formal grounds considered one of the finest surviving examples of Irish Georgian architecture. The 513-acre estate includes a walled garden and a domed entrance hall lined with original plasterwork untouched by modern renovation. The same American billionaire, Kelsey Warren, quietly bought the estate in 2018 for a reported $20 million, years before his identity behind the Dunbeath Castle purchase became public. A bishop's country retreat is now the second secret address on one oil executive's private European map. Ballyfin Demesne. This Regency mansion in County Louth was completed in 1826 and stood abandoned for years, its ceilings collapsing and its conservatory crumbling before American billionaire Fred Crabiel and his Irish wife Kay bought it for restoration. The 644-acre estate now houses hand-restored gold leaf ceilings, a domed staircase hall, and parkland landscaped by 19th-century designers. Rather than living there full-time, the Crabiels spent 9 years and tens of millions of dollars turning the mansion into an ultra-private hotel that Condé Nast Traveler later called the best hotel in the world. A house nearly lost to rot became one of Ireland's most exclusive addresses, owned by a family who rarely stays overnight themselves. Chateau de Source. This 18th-century wine estate near Saint Quentin de Baron dates to 1785 and produces Bordeaux wine across vineyards surrounding its stone chateau and courtyard. Its cellars and tasting rooms sit largely untouched by modern renovation, preserved as a working winery rather than a private residence. Alibaba founder Jack Ma bought the Chateau in 2016 for more than $16 million through Luxembourg and Hong Kong holding companies, one of several French vineyards he quietly acquired that year. A centuries-old French winery now operates almost entirely without its famous owner ever setting foot on the property. Chateau Belfont-Belsier. This Saint-Million Grand Cru estate sits on limestone slopes that have produced classified Bordeaux wine for generations. Its stone chateau overlooking rows of vines tended by a small resident staff. The property changed hands several times in the 2010s before Hong Kong billionaire Peter Kwok added it to his growing collection of Bordeaux vineyards in 2017. Kwok now owns several Saint-Million estates through his family's wine business, treating the show as a production asset rather than a home. A working vineyard built for centuries of French winemakers is now managed from an office thousands of miles away in Hong Kong. Le Grand Jardin. This belle Pokivia sits on the private island of Santa Marguerite off the coast of Caen, its stone terraces and gardens overlooking the Mediterranean just offshore from the French Riviera. The estate includes its own private beach and boat dock, reachable only by water from the mainland. Indian liquor tycoon Vijay Mallya bought the island villa for $60 million before fleeing fraud charges in India, later selling it in 2020 to help cover his mounting legal fees. An island retreat built for quiet escape became instead a financial lifeline for a fugitive billionaire fighting to stay out of reach. From a $301 million chateau outside Paris to a private island villa off the coast of Caen, these 13 estates show how easily Europe's grandest addresses can change hands without their new owners ever really moving in. Sanctions lists, court records, and land registries are often the only reason the public ever learns who actually owns these gates and towers. Some, like Chateau Loup Civ, sit empty behind armed security almost every day of the year, while others, like Le Grand Jardin, were sold off the moment their owner's fortune turned into a liability. Wealth built these castles centuries ago, but it's secrecy that keeps them standing empty today.